You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Polk.
You know, Jasmine, one of the things that we are facing constantly in this environment is the need to use digital tools to do just about everything, from watching movies to ordering your food to, I mean, you name it. We've got to do it online now. Are you getting fatigued by this, or is this something you're excited about?
It's actually pretty exciting. You know, for us, FDRA has so many events throughout the year, and now we're having to look at them all move to digital. And it's actually been pretty fun. At first, it was a little nerve-wracking because it's like you think everything's going to fall apart, but it actually is really going well. And I think the more we do it, the less anxiety that will come from it. So I'm not fatigued just yet. I think you space them out, try to, make them as engaging and interactive as possible. All that kind of stuff helps.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think you just hit on something I think is really important, that you're excited about it. There was some anxiety at first, but there's clearly this transition process as you get more accustomed to it. I feel the same way. And I think when you think about a brand within the industry, as we've been preaching for quite some time, I know my last name's Priest and I try not to preach, but in this regard, we've been talking a lot about digitizing the supply chain and making sure companies have the digital tools necessary to be more efficient, effective, innovative, and competitive. This is even well before COVID. And now we're in this environment where a lot of our companies are reaching out to try to hold on or figure out those new technologies and socialize them within their businesses. And I think that can bring some anxiety, but in the long term, it creates a lot of opportunities and excitement.
Yep, for sure.
So I think what we should do, you and I, Jasmine, because Andy's not here.
Yes.
Don't worry, people, he'll be back. But in the meantime, I think we should bring him in because he had a really interesting conversation with Michael Hsu, who's co-founder and business development executive at 4D ShoeTech.
Yep.
And they talked about how brands are using a digital sample studio that really helps them cut costs, increase speed. And I think, as we've talked about, digitization within the footwear industry, while not as sexy because it's behind the curtain, if you will, is really important in design development and sampling. And I think Michael's going to really help us understand what their technology is doing as it relates to digital sampling. So I think from here, if you're cool with it, Jasmine, if I have your permission, I think we should have Blake roll the tape.
You have my permission. Go ahead, Blake.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Kicks Over Coffee episode where we have casual conversations about the footwear industry. Things are going on, issues, challenges, lots of challenges right now, but also lots of opportunities. And I'm joined by Michael Hsu, who is with 4D ShoeTech. Did I get that right? 4D ShoeTech?
Right. 4D ShoeTech.
All right. Michael has been in the industry for many, many years and once led a multi-million-dollar shoe company himself, and has over time moved towards what we are in now, the digital future. And 4D ShoeTech really is about helping brands digitize their current operations. And so, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit, because I think one of the biggest challenges right now is if we're looking at 3D design and CAD design and kind of digital twins and digitization and all those things. We've had a few leaders in the industry. We've seen Deckers and Wolverine, and obviously like a Nike and Adidas and Columbia and a few others. But it's been really a handful of people who've invested in this and really moved towards that direction. Now, all of a sudden, you have shoe brands who obviously want to start getting involved with software, but sometimes that can take several years to master certain programs and certain aspects. So what exactly are you guys providing? Because I think it's unique in the fact that if somebody wanted to digitize, they could use you as I don't know if the proper term, but CAD lab or something like that would apply.
Well, what we call ourselves is simply just a digital sample studio, built for the future. Basically, all your digital development design needs, we can do them end to end, because obviously I come from shoes. My other partner comes from shoes as well. And our third co-founder, he's a technology guy. So we're just marrying the best of both worlds to do that.
Yeah. So when you say you're a digital shoe studio, in essence, what kind of services are you helping provide? Where's the friction for brands, and where's the solution or the value add that you're giving them right now?
I think most of the frictions come from, obviously, you just mentioned it, buying the software and hiring the people to kind of be on these type of big investments, if you will. I mean, if you look at it, most of these CAD software out there is just step one, because once you get that built, it's the plain vanilla looking kind of 3D structure. And then take it to the next level is, well, what if I want this material on this? How can I get that done? Well, guess what? Now you're stuck because you don't have the know-how of the people able to do that. Guess what? We have that in-house. And then after you get that in, it takes it to the next level where you got to take your 3D to the next dimension, which is why we call it 4D. It's this hyper realism that you have. So it's, if you will, it looks almost like a deep fake. It's a real thing, but it was never made, and no physical samples or anybody had to work overtime or any materials were wasted in the process. That's how it works.
So in essence, I think sometimes people want to bite off more than they can chew, and they want to take the whole apple on. But for you guys, it could be as simple as a brand saying, we want to dip our toe in this digital future really quickly, and they could work with you to try to at least take a couple of their product lines and start to see what you can do with them and digitize them. And then, as you say, when you start to get those 3D assets, all of a sudden you can start putting those online and allowing people to spend. So all of a sudden you have an experience in retail.
Exactly.
On e-commerce that you wouldn't have normally from a physical sample that you have to take a picture of 1 million times and post up there, right?
Exactly.
So what are some of the steps, or what are some of the processes that you guys use if a brand came to you from scratch and said, I want to digitize some of our offerings because I think it would really help lower costs and get us faster speed. So I've got a designer, they've got a sketch. Do they just give you the sketch, and where does it go from there?
Yeah, this is how it typically works. It would be very similar to the old traditional way of doing it. You give me the tech pack, you give me the sketch, and you tell me what the dimensions are, obviously, because even in the digital world, without the correct, accurate dimensions, we couldn't give you something, that never existed before. So we need all that still. So a tech pack is still very key, very important, and your input in the whole process as well, because we need to take that, interpret it into a digital world. And we need to retain your design intent and your creativity as part of that process as well.
Right. But then once you have that, and once you've created that for them, then all of a sudden the tech pack becomes something so much better for the production, right? The factory actually understands better what you're looking for. They have the dimensions. That's the benefit of a CAD. They have all the patterns that you actually want. So it actually increases not only the speed, because maybe you don't have to go through so many sample sessions, right? It starts to out those processes.
Yeah, and I think you touched upon a good point. This is what I call design for manufacturability. That's where it comes in, where when you're designing, now you're taking all the production feasibility and all the challenges that you would have down the road for manufacturing into that process. So once it's done, the single source of truth is there, where the data can go everywhere, anywhere it needs, and whoever gets the touch point is the person who's looking at that point will know exactly to the 0.5 millimeter, 1 millimeter of where everything needs to go. So again, it's that design for manufacturability kind of process.
I think it's a good point, because I mean, as much as we talk about digitization, I've seen factories make far faster advances than some brands at doing this. The last time I was in a factory, we were walking through, and there was a guy scanning lasts into the digital format, and there were more computers in a factory than I've ever seen before. So it's almost like, so a lot of the high-end factories are already speaking, I guess, this language of CADs and 3D, and they're not foreign to, when they get this, they know exactly what it is, and they probably really appreciate the fact that they don't have to do it themselves. That they have experts that are kind of an in-between doing that for folks. But what are some other things that you've heard from brands right now, or what are some other challenges that you've seen that you guys are trying to solve with brands in this new environment?
I think obviously that's an easy answer where remote working, right, is a big one. And because of what we do, it's perfect for this environment. I don't want to say it's a perfect situation we want to be in, and we never want to be in this type of crisis, but because of the way we're set up, it's digital, it's remote, and it's about online collaboration. So wherever you are, anywhere, anytime, you can jump on it and work on it. And that brings us to a point where that's part of the challenge, is that a lot of brands and retailers are saying, well, this is great, but how do I get people to communicate and collaborate more seamlessly and more timely? And that's something now that we're working on beyond this digital sample studio for the future. We're building it to be a smart, AI powered, and also this online collaboration kind of platform that we're building on. So probably in the middle of this year, down the road this year, we'll have something out that takes all that into effect. So it creates this platform that allows a brand, a retailer, or if you're a startup or independent designer, to go on there and to kind of really design and detail things in that, what I call 4D visualization. So it's not something where, you're working in an engineering-based kind of CAD program or simply just scanning a material in there to look at it. It's now really how a designer, how a developer works in their normal, typical day-to-day workflow.
Right. And I think it's an important point too, because when we talk about synchronization, the traditional way of doing things was we'd make a lot of samples, we'd fly all our salespeople in, we'd have line reviews for day one in, check the box for that one, not this one. And all of a sudden you can't have anybody fly in to do that. Zoom can help, but honestly, if you had a 3D file that everybody looked at together and could swirl around 360, zoom in, zoom out to get the exact understanding of the shoe itself, all of a sudden you have a really important tool that is not only cutting cost in your operations, but it's creating that remote efficiencies where people can have those inputs. And you could automatically do an adjustment, and within a day, right, you could probably have the adjustment to relook at it.
Correct. Or right away. I mean, in some cases, depending on the complication that, in terms of the design or what it is that you want to do. I'll show you in a little bit, in a brief kind of overview of what we do in the PowerPoint, and you'll see that on that platform, you're easily to drag and drop these material balls to change up the materials and to see, really your design vision in front of you. So you don't have to try to explain to someone or try to sketch something out, use all these different references. It's all right there.
Right. Go ahead. You can go ahead and bring that up and take a look at it if you'd like to, just so people can get an understanding right off the bat of what we're talking about when we talk about kind of the software and the ability to take a look at things.
All right. So this is what we're all about. And the next phase of it, which we're working on right now, we're testing out with some of our VIP clients, is going to be AI powered, it's going to be deep learning, it's going to be computer vision. And what that means is that, there are trends out there, materials that you want to use, and as a designer, you have certain habits. Well, guess what? We marry all that with the data we collect, and we can make some predictions and recommendations based on all that, either based on a trend or based on something that sold really well last year, or as a designer, you're looking to do this. Kind of like, in PowerPoint, there's these smart designs that popped up, right? So that's something we're working on, combining AI, deep learning, and computer vision, where, you could scan in a material or a shoe and it'll search within the database to give you something very similar.
Very cool.
So this is what, again, we already went through that. So we empower for designers and developers, allowing you to ideate, prototype, and showcase your design vision in photorealistic digital 3D. I call that 4D, but I had to describe it this way because people don't understand what 4D is.
Right.
And the good thing is you never have to make a physical sample if you don't want to. We're not saying we're going to take out that whole process, but it complements that, and it could cut down 20, 30, 40, 50% of your sampling needs. And that's great also for sustainability purposes.
Right.
And there are three of us, three co-founders. Two of us come from shoes. One of us is a technologist, and we're a tech company, but footwear is in our DNA, basically. And I will go over really quick a project we worked on for Walmart. This is for confidentiality purposes, I can't, tell you who it is, but it's one of Walmart's key footwear manufacturing partners. And the goal was to kind of implement best practices to help grow their business with Walmart and to deploy this kind of digital business transformation initiative. So that aligns with the strategy of Walmart. And they needed us to implement this so it's faster, better, and it's more sustainable.
Right.
And we're able to do that obviously because of the expertise, the scale that we do, because all we do is this: footwear, digital development, end to end. And we're able to do this from sketch or an idea to physical sample in 5 days. And I'm going to show you how that was done right here. So it started with this, as you were talking about earlier. This is just kind of a simple sketch, sample request, a little bit of tech pack in there. And then from there, we were able to create this thing that, you can see spinning right here. This was never made. So we made this first utilizing the 3D CAD model. Then we digitalized the material, and then we made it 4D, very hyper real, photorealistic effect. And then from there, we took the materials that the developer and designer specify using AI files, Adobe Illustrator, right? And we printed onto a digital printing kind of machine and process. So really taking it digital. And then from there, we took the 3D and turned it into a 2D paper pattern, plotting and cutting. And then there it goes. At the end of it, we get a shoe like this using this process. So even including this bottom right here, because we built the CAD model with the upper and the bottom, and we have the capability of printing these ourselves because we have 3D printing farm in China. And we're able to do this. So we did this in 5 days. So that outsole that you see right there uses the CAD model we generated, and it's a soft, flexible outsole. So all we needed, obviously, and we had in the very beginning, a last from the manufacturer. And from there, as you can see, sketch a sample in 5 days.
Right. And if somebody wanted to make an adjustment, as you said previously, the designer would just get on there and make a few adjustments, and then you just reprint what you needed to reprint, correct?
Exactly. And I'll show you a little bit of preview what I was talking about earlier, what we're working on right now. Is this right here, this platform where, the same shoe, you put it on here and you can drag and drop the material ball on here to start 4D sampling. And then from there, it becomes in the future an AI-driven type of process where it knows your habit. It knows the type of segment, the type of target market you're going after, and the type of trends you're looking for. And it'll just do this on its own automatically, or you can do this on your own as well.
Very cool.
And as you can see right here, the next step after that is, well, okay, this is great. Now what? Well, I want to show it to my customer. Well, here's your showroom right here. And you can even host now a virtual trade show on here where everything is in 3D. I mean, it's not like no one's done this before, but to do it in 3D, do it in that 4D effect,
right?
I don't think I've seen anybody really do it the way that we've done.
That's great. Yeah, I think everybody right now is trying to figure out how they do their virtual showroom. So very timely now to figure that out, because I think, even if we go back to, and I obviously will go back to at some point, unknown time, but when we go back to meeting face to face again, it won't be the same way where we bring in a pad and a pen. It'll be a hybrid where we use a platform like this to increase the efficiencies of those face to faces.
Yeah, and you'll see a lot of platforms already that allow and enable collaboration, but they just can't handle this type of photorealistic 4D kind of, assets. So that's why, we're here to help everyone, to help you with a pilot program, to help you take on a whole, suite of solutions that we can implement. We're here to help. And we've done now a little bit as well, because what we've done is interesting, that we recently signed on a global lifestyle brand, and they also have a handbag division. And here comes handbag. There was a request for it. So we started kind of dabbling with that as well.
Great. Cool. Well, it's super cool to see that. And I think it's a great service to have for someone who wants to dip their toe in, but may not have budget to hire CAD experts, or may not have budget to or even have the time to retrain people, and they want to speed up really quickly. And I do think that people can just start off with one SKU or two or whatever, and just start to try these, as you say, like a pilot program, to see how that happens. So, I think that's something that's super cool. And, when we're looking for these really quick tools to skill up really quickly, it seems like a lab that like you guys have is something that's a great option for people to consider.
No, that's for sure. And we work with, these big box retailers, fast fashion brands, down to a startup. I mean, there's someone we've been working with for a month or two now, and he comes from one of these big brands that we all know out there, and he's starting up a new brand in this environment. And he told me, you know what, people think he's crazy, but he feels like this is the best time to do it. Plus, now that we've connected, so we really kind of help each other out in this whole process.
Awesome. Well, again, Michael, thanks for coming on Kicks Over Coffee. I'd be remiss to ask you about your coffee habits, if you have coffee habits, before we leave.
There you go.
There you go. You guys ready?
Yeah.
I should say Michael is working nights because of his team in China. So he's in the US, but he's on the Chinese schedule to sync up with their lab over there as they do all the work for the
and sometimes European, because you have clients over there. So I don't know what time zone I'm in anymore.
Coffee is definitely a needed part of your day, just like most of us. So that's great.
Exactly.
All right, folks. This is a quick hit, Kicks Over Coffee, just taking a look at digital solutions right now in an age of remote work and, trying to use tech tools to synchronize. There's also options where if you want to do something really quickly, there's a really cool lab that can help you test out and see the future in real time and speed things up and lower your costs in this environment. So if you guys want to connect with Michael, you can just shoot me an email and I'll connect you with him at apolk@fdra.org. But until next time, please keep wearing kicks and please keep drinking the coffee. Thank you.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. And second and third and fourth, digitization is really important. And having that digital sample studio is key, I think, to being more innovative. And I think it was Rahm Emanuel said in the Obama administration, don't waste a good crisis, right? So let's not waste COVID. And let's really think through what are those critical things that we could be doing differently as companies to be more innovative after this. Jasmine, I don't know about you, but it seems that all things digital is kind of the future for everything.
Yep, for sure. Even on FDRA's website, you can see that we're having 3D courses to gain more education. So if this is new to you and you don't have any digital experience, you can definitely check out that event to get more, that event series online to get more education around it, because we're all having to pivot to it. So yeah, I think it's extremely important and kind of glad that it's here. It's pretty exciting.
That's exciting. And I appreciate your shameless plugs. It's smart. I wasn't even thinking about those things. So go to fdra.org and you can access the 3D digital transformation series, as well as a whole slew of other things that we're working on, from sourcing to sustainability to supply chain. It is all there for your enjoyment, education, and awareness. So with that, we appreciate you coming on for another Shoe and Show. Share Shoe and Show with your friends. It's the least you can do if you love someone. Reach out to them. All you got to do is if you have an iPhone, is go to the icon that is Shoe and Show, and you hit the little button and it says share, and you can just text it out to your friends. You can start a group chat about how amazing Shoe and Show is with all your friends. Great. And I promise you, they may be annoyed a little bit at the outset, but once they listen, they'll be glad that you shared it with them. So with that, thanks for coming, and we will see you on the next Shoe and Show. And until then, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.